All right, folks, welcome to episode 13 of Yonan's Edge. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Petrified Fish 818. I do have to apologize, I have a little bit of a head cold going on, so if my voice sounds a little different or a little stuffy today, that's why. We'll try to get through this for you pretty quickly. So let's jump in with some basic specs. This is a flipper opening non-assisted knife. It uses D2 steel. It actually says that right there in the flipper tab. There you go. And there's the model number, the 818 on the other side of the flipper tab. This is a mostly flat grind knife, but as you can see, there's a compound grind here on the rear, say, third of the blade. It uses full stainless liners, textured G10 scales, has a stainless pocket clip. It's also it says on here, it's a David Chen designed knife. I'm not sure who David Chen is, but he did a pretty good job designing this knife, so I'll say that he knows what he's doing. The knife also rides on dual ball bearings, so it's very, very, very smooth. Once you get it down to detent line, it literally pretty much falls closed. You get the detent line closed and the knife will fall shut. And that's the way it came out of the box, by the way. Didn't really have to do anything to this knife at all. I haven't added any oil to the pivot bearings or anything yet. So let's talk a little bit about the actual length of the knife. The cutting edge of the knife from the tip back here to the little sharpening choil cutout is 3.5 inches, and it's 3 7/8 to the pivot point here, from the tip to here, 3 7/8. The overall length of the knife is 8 inches. So it's got a pretty good length to it, but it doesn't feel like a big chunky knife in your hand, which is a good thing. So this is my first petrified fish. And here's what I like about this knife and this brand after about 3 weeks of use. First of all, I love the overall fit and finish of this knife. It is really, really high quality in terms of that. The fit and finish on this knife is great. You know, I'm a big fan of silver blasting or sand blasting a blade to get that kind of flat silvery look, and this is a little different. This is what they call a silver wash or ceramic wash, where they wash the blade with ceramic media, and it gives it this kind of low sheen, slightly textured look. The one thing I love about this is it really hides blade marks, scratches, and wear extremely, extremely well. You can see the blade profile here on the knife. It does thicken up a little bit up here at the top, but it has a nice profile. And after 3 weeks of using it for cutting and slicing and whittling and all that stuff, the D2 has held its edge perfectly. I haven't had to resharpen or even strop the knife. And it cuts with this flat grind that comes through here. It cuts really nice. And this does tend to lend to some really nice cutting and slicing. So one of the other things that I really like here is there's actually the texturing on these scales is phenomenal, and I don't know how well you can see it. There we go. But it has 3 different textures. So it has a fairly aggressive texture up here. Not super sharp or anything, but it's just got enough that it really feels positive in your hand there. And then they went with a nice smooth texturing, a smooth, almost perfectly smooth thing in the middle. It's got a little bit of texturing to it, but not much. And then a slightly different texture on the bottom side of the scales. And what that does is it really does make you feel like it's very positive wherever you hold the knife, whether it's on the side or whether you're holding it in a more traditional grip like this. The scales just have a great feel to them. There's no hot spots on the knife. You barely feel the pocket clip at all back here. They did some nice jimping up here on the top of the blade. Also, some jimping here on the bottom of the flipper tab so that when you go to flip this knife open, there's something for you to grab a hold of. But also when you are holding the knife here with these two primary fingers in the front, you can feel that jimping. Your finger doesn't have a tendency to want to slip or slide off of all there. There's no hot points here on the lockup of the knife. It just feels really good and positive in your hand. The scale texturing, again, 3 different textures, fantastic. It feels really, really good in your hand. It's a very, very comfortable knife to hold. So the other thing that I think is really nice, it has full stainless steel frames on the left and right side. There is some machining to take some weight out, as you can see. But what they did that was a really nice touch is they machined out and inlaid both the left and right side frames. So you don't see the frames. There's no frame liner running down the knife. And that really makes the knife look a lot more expensive than what it actually is. It's something you usually see them do on knives that are at a significantly higher price point. Not that some budget knives don't also have this, but this is just a really nice touch. So again, that for me, that's something I really love. I love when they can, go that little extra to take a knife like this and just make it look even nicer and look more finished than it would if you saw frame liners running down the top and the bottom and around the back of the knife. One other point of note, if you're a lanyard fan, there's only one lanyard hole coming through one side of the knife. It is not, by the way, reversible pocket clip. It's a tip-up carry on this pocket clip. But if you look carefully, the metal scales on the knife, there you go, you can see it here. The metal scales on the knife, there you go, actually come all the way back to where your lanyard loop would go. So that's reinforced. It's not just the G10 there. And that's another nice little touch that they did when they designed the knife. Again, I love the jimping. I think that's great. The blade has held its edge. I've whittled some wood with this thing. I've broken down some Amazon boxes. I've cut some tie wraps, different things with it. The wood whittling was the thing I thought would probably take the edge off the blade. It's still super sharp. D2 does tend to hold an edge pretty well. So all of those things are super positives. I have to say overall, that I am pretty impressed with the materials and the fit and finish of the knife. So the cons. So, man, these are so tiny and so small. So button head screws on a pocket clip. I think if you've watched any of my other reviews and you've watched other people's knife reviews, you know that we're not fans of button head screws on pocket clips. If you're going to do button head screws, and this is my only other tiny con on this knife at all, this space here on the pocket clip should be higher. In other words, this clip should have come up a little bit and then been beveled down more so that there was more space here between the screws and the inside of the clip. That's really my only big con, is I might have made this clip have an extra angle to it so that you got a little more space in there. But overall, gosh, this knife is way more impressive than what I expected it to be. Now, I knew a lot of people were high on this brand. I think I've become a fan of them too. So, here we go. The only other con that I have, and this is not necessarily a con of the knife or the brand, is that due to the popularity of Petrified Fish's knives over this past year, a lot of their models, 3 or 4 of their top models, are actually out of stock in most places. This was actually my third choice for a Petrified Fish. The 2 that I really wanted were not in stock anywhere at the moment. So about 3 weeks ago when I bought this knife, this was the only one on my list of 4 or 5 knives that I wanted that was in stock. So I bought it. They're still not in stock on the 2 or 3 knives that are my top choices as far as ones I want. But I have to say I'm glad I bought this knife. Again, fit and finish is great. Materials are great. The knife punches way, way above its weight class. So this knife costs $28.99. That's right, $29, folks. You can have this knife, this Petrified Fish with D2 steel, with the beautifully 3-textured G10 grips, inlaid stainless steel liners, pocket clip, all of that good stuff. The other thing I like, there's no billboarding on the blade. They really just take a sort of a low-key approach to that. This is a fantastic knife. This knife, I would have easily paid more money for this knife had I known what kind of quality it was. The fact that you can buy this knife for under $30 makes it every bit as good, if not better, than a lot of knives that are out there in the $30 price range. Like I said, $40, $50 price range, you still would be struggling to get a knife with this kind of quality, with good steel, good ergonomics, really good, solid design. So let's do a couple of size comparisons for you real quick, and then we can wrap this up. So here's the PF, again, comes in at 8 inches. Here it is next to a Spyderco Tenacious. You can see it's a little longer, similar size though. And here it is next to the full-size Griptilian. Again, you can see similar blade length, very similar size. So it's a full-size knife, but it definitely doesn't feel big or bulky in your hands. There's plenty of room for anybody with any size hand to get a full purchase on this knife. As you can see, there's plenty of knives sticking out the back. All right, so that's going to do it for today. That is the Petrified Fish 818 review. Please remember to like and subscribe if you've been enjoying the videos. Hit those buttons down there, like and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the viewership that I have. I love getting comments. I love when people give me feedback. So thanks again so much for that. Thanks for watching, and stay sharp, everyone.